The night was loud inside the city's most expensive bar. Laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses filled the air. A group of rich men sat at a corner table, their suits perfectly pressed, their watches shining under the golden lights. They were drinking, joking, and showing off their wealth as they always did. At the center of the group sat Ethan, the youngest of them, a man known for his charm, his arrogance, and his endless money. He had everything: cars, mansions, and power. But what he loved most was proving himself better than everyone around him. That night, one of his friends leaned forward with a mischievous grin. "Ethan," he said, "you think you can buy anything, don't you? You think women love you for who you are, but the truth is, they only see your money." The others laughed. Ethan raised his glass and smirked. "Maybe that's true. But what are you trying to say?" Another friend joined in, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "If you're really as bold as you say, why not marry someone who has nothing? Someone who doesn't even know your world. Let's see if you can handle that." Ethan frowned, but the challenge stirred his pride. "You want me to marry someone poor? Someone ordinary?" "Yes," the man said, pointing out the window of the bar toward a small diner across the street. The neon sign flickered in the darkness, and through the glass, they could see waitresses in plain uniforms rushing to serve customers. "Pick one of them. Marry her. If you're so sure of yourself, prove it." The table erupted with laughter, but Ethan's pride was stronger than reason. He leaned back in his chair, pretending to think. His lips curved into a confident smile. "Fine. I'll do it. Watch me." The group cheered and raised their glasses, believing it was only a joke. But Ethan was already standing, buttoning his expensive jacket as he walked out of the bar and into the cold night. Across the street, the diner was warm but simple, filled with the smell of coffee and fried food. Behind the counter, a young woman moved quickly from table to table, carrying plates and pouring drinks. Her name was Lily. Lily was not like the women Ethan usually knew. She wore no jewelry, no expensive clothes. Her uniform was plain, her hair tied back neatly, and yet, there was something graceful about her. She smiled at every customer, even the rude ones, and when a child dropped his food, she knelt down to help him without a trace of annoyance. Ethan stood at the door, watching her. Something about her calmness irritated him. She was not impressed by him, not even aware of his presence. For the first time in years, he felt invisible. When Lily noticed him, she gave a polite smile. "Table for one?" she asked. Ethan sat down, his pride swelling again. "Actually," he said smoothly, "I didn't come here to eat. I came to talk to you." Lily blinked, surprised but not flustered. "To me? Why?" The other waitresses glanced curiously, whispering among themselves. It wasn't every night that a rich man in a tailored suit walked into their diner. Ethan leaned forward. "Marry me." The words were so sudden, so shocking, that Lily almost dropped the coffee pot in her hand. "Excuse me." "Marry me," Ethan repeated, his tone steady. "I'm serious." The entire diner went quiet. Customers turned to stare, waitresses froze mid-step, and Lily's heart pounded in her chest. She thought it was a cruel joke. People like him didn't marry women like her. "You don't even know me," she said, her voice calm but firm. "I'll know enough," Ethan replied with a smirk. His friends, still visible across the street, raised their glasses in mocking cheers. He wanted to prove them wrong, and she was his chance to win. Lily studied him for a long moment. She could see arrogance in his eyes, pride in his smile. But she also saw something else, an emptiness he was trying to hide. She had met men like him before, men who thought money could solve everything. And yet, a part of her was curious. Why would a man like him come here, to her, with such a wild request? She put the coffee pot down, wiped her hands on her apron, and looked straight into his eyes. "If I say yes, what happens then?" Ethan smiled triumphantly. "Then everything changes." Lily's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. She had her own secrets, her own battles, and if this man thought he was the one playing a game, he had no idea what he was stepping into. The night that began with laughter and a reckless dare was about to set two very different lives on a path neither of them could have predicted. And as Ethan walked out of the diner with Lily's quiet yes still echoing in his mind, he had no idea that this simple waitress would become the greatest challenge of his life. The wedding was fast, almost rushed. No grand church, no glittering lights, no long guest list. It happened in a small office at City Hall with only a few people to witness. Ethan wore his expensive suit, and Lily stood beside him in a plain dress, her hands folded tightly in front of her. To Ethan's rich friends, it was a joke come true. They laughed as they signed the papers, whispering to each other how long this marriage would last. To them, it was entertainment. To Ethan, it was a victory, proof that his pride was bigger than their doubts. But to Lily, it was something else entirely. She looked calm, her eyes soft, but deep inside her heart was trembling. She had agreed for reasons she hadn't told him yet. She didn't marry for love, nor for his money. She married because she had no other choice. When the ceremony ended, Ethan escorted her outside. "Well, Mrs. Cole," he said with a smirk, "are you ready for your new life?" Lily gave a small smile. "I'll try my best." Ethan expected excitement, maybe even gratitude. But she wasn't impressed. She wasn't dazzled by his wealth or charm. She simply accepted it, as if marriage was just another step in her long, tiring journey. That night, Ethan drove her to his mansion. The building was massive, with shining windows, tall gates, and a long driveway lined with lights. Lily looked at it quietly, not with awe, but with silent thought. Inside, everything sparkled: marble floors, gold-framed paintings, expensive furniture. Yet Lily did not gush or gasp. She walked slowly, studying the rooms, then placed her small bag neatly on the floor. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You're not going to say anything?" Most women would faint from excitement. Lily turned to him. "It's beautiful. But a house is only a house. What matters is the people inside it." Her words struck him in a way he didn't expect. For years, people had chased him for what he owned, not who he was. But here stood a woman who seemed unmoved by wealth. He brushed off the thought quickly, convincing himself she was only pretending. Days turned into weeks, and their marriage became a strange game of distance. Ethan kept busy with business meetings and social events, while Lily quietly managed the household. She rose early, cooked meals, spoke kindly to the staff, and even tended the small garden outside. Ethan watched her from a distance, confused by her simplicity. She never asked for credit cards, never demanded gifts, never bragged about being married to a rich man. She just lived, quietly. One evening, when Ethan returned home late, he found her sitting by the window with a cup of tea. The lights from the city reflected on her face. "You're always awake," he said, loosening his tie. "I wait until you come home," Lily replied softly. He frowned. "Why? You don't need to." She smiled faintly. "Because that's what family does." Family. The word echoed in Ethan's mind. He had never thought of marriage as family, only as a challenge, a dare, a game. But Lily's words carried weight he didn't understand. At parties, things were worse. Ethan's friends mocked Lily openly, calling her the waitress bride. They made cruel jokes, asking if she knew how to hold a wine glass properly or if she missed serving burgers. Lily never reacted. She simply smiled politely, answered calmly, and walked away with quiet dignity. But Ethan noticed the redness in her eyes when they returned home. She never cried in front of him, yet her silence spoke louder than tears. One night, after a party filled with cruel laughter, Ethan asked her, "Why don't you fight back? Why do you just let them treat you that way?" Lily looked at him gently. "Because I don't need to prove myself to them. I know who I am." Her answer unsettled him. For the first time, he began to wonder, who is this woman really? But as he drifted to sleep that night, he didn't know that Lily was keeping something hidden. Late at night, when she thought he was asleep, she sat at the desk with a small bundle of papers. Letters, bills, and photographs she guarded carefully. She whispered softly to herself as she tucked them away, her eyes shining with a secret pain. Ethan had married Lily on a dare, expecting a game. But as the days passed, he began to realize this marriage was no game at all. Lily was more than she appeared, and whatever secret she carried was about to pull him into a story far deeper than pride. The dare had begun with laughter. But now, their marriage was turning into a mystery. Rumors travel fast in the world of the rich. And Ethan's marriage had become everyone's favorite story. At business meetings, his so-called friends whispered about Lily. At dinners, women with diamond necklaces raised their eyebrows and mocked her simple clothes. Some even said Ethan had lost his mind. "She's only after your money," one man told Ethan one evening, his voice sharp with judgment. "She's just a waitress. She doesn't belong here." Ethan laughed in front of them, pretending not to care. But deep down, the words began to sting. Because when he looked at Lily, he didn't see a woman chasing wealth. He saw someone who lived simply, who never asked for anything, who didn't even seem impressed by his riches. And that was what confused him the most. One evening, after another long day at work, Ethan entered the mansion quietly. He expected to find Lily reading or sitting by the window as usual. But instead, he saw her at the dining table, hurriedly stuffing papers into a small bag. When she noticed him, she froze for a moment before smiling. "You're home early." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "What were you hiding just now?" Her hands tightened around the bag. "Just personal things." Ethan let it go, but suspicion filled his mind. For the first time, he wondered if his friends were right. Was she hiding something? A few days later, he found another clue. Lily left the house every Thursday evening, always with the same calm excuse. "I'll be back soon." She never explained where she went. One night, curiosity got the better of him. Ethan told his driver to follow her quietly. Lily took a bus, not a car, and went to the other side of the city. She stopped at an old hospital, a place far from the glamorous streets of their world. From a distance, Ethan saw her walk inside with a small bag. She stayed for hours. When she came out, her shoulders looked heavy, her face tired, her eyes shining with something that looked like sorrow. Ethan's chest tightened. What was she doing there? Who was she visiting? The next morning, he decided to test her. At breakfast, he asked casually, "So, where did you go last night?" Lily paused, her spoon frozen mid-air. "Just out. I needed some fresh air." Ethan studied her carefully. She was lying. Her calm voice didn't match the sadness he had seen in her eyes. That day, the whispers around him grew louder. At lunch with a business partner, the man leaned in with a smirk. "I saw your wife yesterday. She was at that old hospital. Strange place for a woman married to a billionaire, don't you think?" Ethan said nothing, but his heart raced. The mystery around Lily was deepening. Later that evening, he confronted her gently. "Why do you go there, Lily? Who are you visiting?" Her eyes lowered, her fingers brushing the edge of the table. "Please, Ethan, don't ask." "Why not?" he pressed. "Because it's something you wouldn't understand," she whispered. Her answer only made him more restless. The following week, he couldn't stop himself. He went to the hospital alone. The old building smelled of medicine and silence. As he walked down the narrow halls, he noticed nurses who seemed to recognize Lily's name when he asked. Finally, he reached a small room. There, lying on a bed, was a young boy, thin, pale, and weak, with the same soft eyes as Lily. Ethan froze. The boy looked no older than 10. A nurse explained quietly, "That's her younger brother. She comes every week, sometimes twice. She pays the bills herself." The truth hit Ethan like a storm. Lily wasn't hiding money, or betrayal, or some shameful past. She was hiding pain. She was carrying the weight of her brother's illness alone. That night, when Lily returned home, Ethan couldn't stop staring at her. She moved around the kitchen as if nothing had happened, preparing tea, smiling softly. But now he knew. Every smile she gave was hiding a storm. "Lily," he said quietly. She looked at him. Yes. He wanted to tell her he knew. He wanted to tell her she didn't have to hide anymore. But the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he only whispered, "You're stronger than I thought." Lily tilted her head, puzzled. But she said nothing. As Ethan lay awake that night, he realized something that unsettled him deeply. This marriage, born from a foolish dare, was no longer a joke. Lily was no ordinary waitress. She was a woman fighting battles he had never imagined. And for the first time, Ethan wasn't sure who was really winning in this game, him or her. The days after Ethan discovered Lily's secret were heavy with silence. Every time he saw her smile, every time he watched her pour tea or quietly hum while folding clothes, he could not forget the image of her younger brother lying in that hospital bed. He wanted to ask her everything. He wanted to tell her he knew. But something in her calm eyes stopped him. She had chosen to hide her pain from him, and he didn't understand why. One evening, the weight of it all became too much. Ethan found her in the kitchen, cleaning the dishes after dinner. He stepped closer and spoke softly. "Lily, why didn't you tell me about your brother?" Her hands froze on the plate she was holding. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then she turned slowly, her eyes wide with shock. "You followed me?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "I had to know. I couldn't just sit here while you disappeared every week. Why didn't you trust me?" Her lips trembled, but she held her ground. "Because this marriage wasn't built on trust, Ethan. It started as a dare. A game. How could I tell you something so personal when you didn't marry me for love?" Her words cut deeper than any blade. Ethan opened his mouth to argue, but nothing came out. She was right. He had married her for pride, for victory over his friends, not for her. Lily's voice softened. "I didn't want your pity. I didn't want to be your burden. My brother is my responsibility, not yours." Her hands trembled as she wiped them on her apron. "I married you because I thought maybe this arrangement could give him stability. A roof, security. I never wanted your money, Ethan. I only wanted to keep him safe." Ethan felt his chest tighten. For the first time, he saw her not as the quiet waitress who had stepped into his world, but as a woman carrying mountains on her shoulders. "Lily," he whispered, his voice unsteady. "You should have told me. She shook her head quickly. "Don't say anything, please. Let me fight this my way." But Ethan couldn't ignore it. That night, while she slept, he sat at his desk, staring at the city lights. 4 years, money had been his weapon, his shield, his pride. Yet now, for the first time, he felt powerless. He had everything, but Lily refused to take anything from him. The next morning, he quietly visited the hospital again. He spoke with the doctors, he read the reports, and he realized the truth. Her brother's treatment was expensive, far beyond what a waitress could afford. She had been working endless shifts, saving every coin, and still falling short. When he returned home, he found Lily waiting for him. Her eyes searched his face. "You went there, didn't you?" Ethan nodded. "I did. And I'm not sorry." Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. Instead, she whispered, "I told you, this is not your fight." "Yes, it is," Ethan said firmly. "The moment you married me, your fight became mine too." For the first time, Lily's calm mask broke. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "You don't understand. If your friends find out, they'll say I married you for money. They'll use my brother against me. They'll call me a liar." Ethan stepped closer, his voice low but steady. "Let them talk. I don't care anymore." She looked at him, searching his face for a hint of mockery, a trace of pride. But all she found was sincerity. For the first time since their wedding, Ethan wasn't laughing, wasn't playing. He was serious. The truth had come out in pieces, through whispers, through hidden papers, through sleepless nights. And with every piece, Ethan's heart shifted. Later that night, as Lily tucked the letters and medical bills back into her small bag, Ethan gently touched her hand. "You don't have to hide these anymore," he said. Her lips trembled. "I've been hiding for so long, Ethan. I don't know how to stop." "Then let me help you," he whispered. "Let me carry some of the weight." For the first time, Lily allowed herself to lean into him. Just a little. Just enough to feel that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone anymore. The dare had brought them together as strangers. But now, the truth was slowly weaving them into something more, something fragile, something real. And though neither of them would say it out loud yet, they both felt it. Their marriage was no longer a game. It was turning into a test of trust, love, and courage. After that night, something began to change inside Ethan. The arrogance that once filled his heart slowly started to fade. He found himself watching Lily in quiet moments, not with curiosity, but with respect. He noticed the way she always placed others before herself, the way she spoke kindly to the staff, the way she visited her brother with endless love, the way she carried pain but still smiled at strangers. She was nothing like the people in his world. She was stronger, kinder, and more real than anyone he had ever known. One evening, Ethan returned home early. He found Lily in the garden, kneeling by the flowers with dirt on her hands. She looked up, startled. "You should have called," she said softly, brushing soil from her palms. "I like surprises," Ethan replied, sitting down beside her. For the first time, he wasn't thinking about his pride or his friends. He just wanted to be near her. They sat together as the sun dipped behind the mansion, painting the sky with soft orange light. For a moment, neither spoke. But the silence was warm, not heavy. Finally, Ethan broke it. "Lily, I know I was wrong. About everything. I treated this marriage like a game. But you've shown me what real strength looks like." Lily looked at him carefully. "People don't change overnight, Ethan." "I know," he admitted. "But I want to try." Her eyes softened, but she didn't answer. She only turned back to the flowers, her quiet smile leaving him both hopeful and uncertain. In the weeks that followed, Ethan began to show his change in small ways. He started handling some of her brother's hospital bills without telling her. He stopped attending parties where people mocked her. And when he had to attend, he stood beside her, protecting her from cruel whispers. At one event, when a woman sneered, "A waitress as a wife, how charming," Ethan calmly replied, "She has more dignity in her silence than you have in your diamonds." The room went silent, and Lily's eyes filled with something Ethan couldn't name. But the world around them was not kind. His old friends grew restless, annoyed that Ethan was slipping away from their games. They whispered more cruelly, plotting to remind him of the truth he was trying to bury. One night, at a grand party, it happened. Lily stood near the corner, her plain dress simple among sparkling gowns. Ethan was talking with a group of men when suddenly, one of his oldest friends raised his glass and laughed loudly. "Tell us, Ethan," the man shouted so everyone could hear. "How does it feel to be the first rich man to marry a waitress on a dare?" The word hung in the air like poison. The crowd gasped. Lily's heart froze. She turned to Ethan, her face pale, her eyes wide with shock. "A dare," she whispered. Ethan's chest tightened. "Lily, wait." But it was too late. The cruel truth had been spoken aloud, and everyone in the room was staring. Lily's hands trembled as tears filled her eyes. "All this time," she whispered, her voice breaking, "I thought maybe you were different. But it was all just a joke." "No," Ethan said quickly, stepping closer. "It started that way, yes. But it's not like that anymore. Lily, I swear." She shook her head, stepping back. "Do you know what it feels like? To give someone your trust, only to find out you were nothing but a game." Her words cut him deeper than any insult ever had. He reached out, but she turned away, her tears falling fast. "I can't do this, Ethan," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I can't live knowing my marriage began with your pride." And before he could stop her, Lily walked out of the party, leaving Ethan standing frozen among the whispers and laughter of people who never cared. That night, the mansion felt colder than ever. Ethan sat alone in the dark, his head in his hands. For the first time in his life, he wasn't thinking about money, or reputation, or victory. He was thinking about Lily, about her quiet strength, her hidden pain, her love for her brother. And he realized the truth. He loved her. Not because of the dare, not because of pride, not because of the challenge, but because she had become the one person who made his world real. Yet now, she was gone. And he had no idea if she would ever forgive him. Lily did not return that night. Or the night after. The mansion, once filled with her quiet presence, now felt empty. Ethan searched everywhere, her old diner, the hospital, even the small apartment where she once lived, but she was gone. Each day without her felt heavier. Ethan, the man who once thought he could buy anything, now realized there was something money could not buy: forgiveness. One evening, he sat by her brother's hospital bed. The boy looked up at him with tired but kind eyes. "Where's Lily?" the boy asked softly. Ethan swallowed hard. She needed time. The boy studied him for a moment. Then, with surprising wisdom, he said, "Don't give up on her. She always gives up on herself too quickly. But she needs someone who won't give up on her." The words pierced Ethan's heart. For the first time, he understood. Love wasn't about pride or winning, it was about fighting for someone even when they walked away. Days turned into weeks. Then, one rainy evening, Ethan finally found her. She was standing outside the hospital, holding an umbrella, her eyes tired but steady. When she saw him, her body stiffened. "Why are you here, Ethan?" she asked quietly. He stepped closer, the rain soaking his suit. "Because I can't let you walk away from me. Not like this." Her lips trembled. "You lied to me. Everything started with a dare." "I know," he said, his voice breaking. "And I hate myself for it. But Lily, please believe me, it stopped being a dare the moment I saw you. The moment I realized you weren't just a waitress, you were everything I never knew I needed." She looked at him, rain mixing with her tears. "How can I trust you again?" Ethan dropped to his knees right there in the rain. For a man of his pride, it was unthinkable. But he didn't care. "You don't have to trust me today," he said. "Or tomorrow. But I'll spend the rest of my life proving I love you, not because of a dare, not because of pride, but because you've changed me." The world seemed to pause. For a long moment, Lily said nothing. Her heart was torn, between pain and hope, between betrayal and love. Finally, she whispered, "You can't fix everything with words, Ethan. Love isn't a game. It's sacrifice." Ethan nodded, his eyes steady. "Then let me sacrifice. Let me fight for you. Just don't walk away forever." The following weeks tested them both. Ethan began to show her, not with promises, but with actions. He supported her brother's treatment openly now, no longer hiding behind money but standing beside her. He turned his back on the cruel friends who mocked her, cutting ties with the toxic circle he once thought was his world. Slowly, Lily began to see the truth. The man who once married her on a dare was no longer the same. He was humbler, softer, but stronger in a way that mattered. One evening, after visiting her brother together, Lily stopped outside the hospital doors. She turned to Ethan, her eyes searching his. "You really changed," she whispered. He looked at her with quiet honesty. "You changed me, Lily. You taught me what love is." Tears filled her eyes. She wanted to resist, to protect herself, but her heart betrayed her. She stepped forward, and for the first time, she let him hold her without walls between them. "I don't know if I can forget the past," she whispered against his chest. "You don't have to," Ethan said softly. "We'll build something new. Together." Months later, the grand ballroom that once witnessed their humiliation now witnessed something else. But this time, there were no mocking voices, no cruel whispers. Only family, close friends, and a young boy in a wheelchair smiling brightly as he watched his sister dance. Ethan and Lily stood in the center, hand in hand. She wore a simple dress again, but this time, she wasn't the outsider. She was his partner. His equal. As they danced slowly, Ethan leaned close and whispered, "That dare was the biggest mistake of my life. But loving you is the best choice I've ever made." Lily smiled through her tears. "Then let's not call it a dare anymore. Let's call it destiny." The room erupted in applause as they held each other close. The man who once thought love was a game now understood its true meaning. He had married her on a dare. But he had fallen in love by fate. And that was the ending he never expected.